evening, everybody. Welcome back to Horse Center. We're joined this evening by our guest, George Bush, Mr. President.
My fellow constituents.
Yes, indeed. So out of curiosity, how much hate mail did you get when he was president?
Well, I didn't go to Chicago and do well. Let's say that. But I traveled around and actually had a shot to be on the, what is that, the race where people go across the country with a friend of mine. And they came to me and said they were going to have a problem with my name getting through all the countries. So the time, Bush was the president.
So the Cannonball Run race or something like that?
I can't remember what it is, but it was, we went out to California, did the whole spiel, and it was a lot of fun. But they actually said that because my name was George Bush and the president was George Bush, they thought they might run into a little bit of problem.
That's kind of funny. I imagine you've had a lot of George Bush type incidents along the way. Like when you make reservations and you show up, people are probably like, "Oh, this is not the Bush we thought."
Well, yeah, Disneyland, back when Bush was vice president, I went to Disney, paid for my tickets with American Express card and drove up from Tampa. I was down there at Tampa working on the starting gate, and they made me go to the manager's window, and George Bush flew into town that day, and they said, "Are you related to the vice president?" And I just said, "I'm not at liberty to say," and we got the best tour of Disney I'd ever had in my life.
No, I imagine I would use that like that too. I would say same exact thing. Hey, man, I can't tell you. It's a national security issue.
I'm not lying.
It's indeed, for sure. So today your brother was supposed to join us. He's off to see Rod Stewart and Cheap Trick. Okay, Cheap Trick, I can say, yeah, I would go. I saw Cheap Trick. I mentioned that earlier in the day today. I want you to want me. I'm ready to take over. If the singer, they're from Rockford, Illinois, from my part of the woods.
Okay.
And but Rod Stewart, I mean, you got better taste in music than that.
He took my sister, so let's just leave it. He's doing my sister a solid.
Well, that makes sense for sure.
And actually, Rich, you were what George told me earlier. Go ahead, George. Tell him what type of music Vernon listens to. Rich, you were onto something earlier.
I said Metallica.
AC/DC, Alice Cooper. Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, that's Vernon's main genre. So he really does love that. And whenever Alice Cooper's in town, he's there no matter what. So, yeah, that's his main thing. That's why I think he's just doing it for my sister.
Does he do the face paint and all that stuff?
Oh, no. He needs it at times, but no.
For sure. Yeah, so Metallica, I saw Metallica in concert. So I got to say, if you ever get a chance to go, I've been probably to 100 concerts in my lifetime. Absolutely, hands down, in the top 5 because they really put on a powerful show. The music actually, like, you know how like when you're looking at the ground and it's hot out and you can see like the heat coming off of the ground.
Yeah.
You can not see the steam, but you can see kind of like the heat.
Oh, the waves of the heat. Yes.
Their music did that, like bent the air like that. So it was really kind of interesting. So it was a really good show. Aside from rock shows, you're training some horses. Tell us a little bit about how things are going in 2022.
Actually, this year has been a really good year at Belterra Park for me. I've got some solid horses, and the old adage, put them in where they can win, and they usually will. So I've been lucky to have some owners that are really good owners, and we work together on placing the horses, and sometimes the owner wants to take a shot, and I'm like, "Okay, it's your horse. I'll take a shot, but if it doesn't work out, then you need to let me do what I do." And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I've got one horse that's actually in Friday. He's 3 for 4 at Belterra Park in a second. My brother's riding one tomorrow for me that's only run twice. He had a win and a 4th. That was Vernon's first win back in 3.5 years. And ran into a little bit of trouble last time, was coming down the stretch and was boxed in behind the leader or second place horse and was clipping heels. So Vernon just stayed for 4th place, and I dropped him back in for 5, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. He's 5-1, so he should run good.
What's the name of the horse? The 2 horses?
Ralph's Copperhead Road.
Ralph's Copperhead Road?
Yeah.
And the other one on coming up on the weekend?
Joyful Heart.
Joyful Heart. So you said one thing you said that really interests me and we talk about this a lot with trainers and owners, is put them in where they can win. So that's obviously utilizing the condition book.
Yes.
So for a handicapper, guys like Shawn and I that don't own horses but want to make a couple of bucks, how do we look at the conditions and figure out which trainers have put a horse in where they can win?
Well, you follow the chart where the horse has been running, and then you'll see the offset where once in a while you'll put him in a handicap, and the horse runs middle of the pack, and then he goes back down to where he's been consistently good. This particular horse, we got very lucky, and I threw him in for 5,000 after winning for 40,000 in Indiana last year. Nobody claimed him, so we were just running starter races. And there are some great starter horses out there. And you look at the Claiming Crown, and you'll see them all the time running. And they're just as good as some of the stake horses out there. But it's nice to be a big fish in a small pond. And you have to have owners that are willing to, run for the 30,000 and opposed to the 110,000 at Churchill and be part of the race, where you run for the 30 and you win the race. Right. So you look at those consistent numbers and claiming prices, because I don't have anything that's over the top fantastic, horses that you're going to know by name. I do have a 2-year-old that people might know by next year, but we're hoping for the best. So that's what I would think you'd look for is consistency, no change of riders all the time. So you have the same rider multiple times, and then sometimes there might be a change where, like this horse, Joyful Heart, the agent had given another trainer the call, and the rider that I was using every time couldn't ride my horse. So I went with Victor LeBron, and he's won 2 in a row on the horse. So you can't take him off after they win. It's kind of tough.
You don't want to break what's not broken, right?
Absolutely. If it's if things are working, don't fix anything. It works fine.
So you say you got a 2-year-old running, and you're keeping a secret again. What's the 2-year-old's name?
Well, I've got a little Ohio bred, accredited Ohio bred that my owners, Mike and Martha and Scott Borchetta, Big Machine Racing and cross country racing. They have a accredited 2-year-old filly that has all the makings to be a very nice 2-year-old. We just have to get her breaking out of the gate, and she worked her first 3/8 the other day. And if you know what a 2-minute lick is, where a horse will do 15 seconds for every 1/8 of a mile, it's 2 minutes. And she did that working 3/8 of a mile and for the first 8, and then worked down the stretch, and she had the bullet work for the day. So that last quarter was quite phenomenal. And then she was asked to gallop out, and not only did she gallop out past the half mile, she galloped out 3/4 of a mile because the rider couldn't pull her up, which for a 2-year-old is really good for what I'm looking for. And she's tough. She loves the competition, comes back to the barn. She's just mild-mannered, nothing spooks her, goes with the flow, and just happy to be around and be there. So, it's nice to have something that's, a racehorse on the racetrack and a nice horse on the barn.
Does the horse been named yet?
You're trying to get it out of me, aren't you?
Yes, I am trying to get it out of you. That was the point of the question.
Yeah,
We're all here to make money.
Her name is Breath of Heaven.
Breath of Heaven. Okay, so put that in your...
Her. Yeah, she's nice. She's born by Corfu, which is now a horse standing in Ohio. And I think that the average earnings for the Corfus are around 70,000, but he's just coming into his own, and they've been running very well. So I love them. I bred my mare to Corfu this year, and I haven't bred a mare in 20 years.
So if we want an answer from you, George, we just got to hit you 3 times, because the 3rd time was the charm there.
Basically, it's just, I don't know if I want to put it out there too soon, but she's a really nice filly.
Now, George, we've had a lot of dynamics with father, son, girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, all that. Now you guys are brothers. How does that go when something goes wrong? Trainer-jockey relationship with you and Vernon.
He tends to walk out a lot when I'm trying to tell him something. But I can yell at him where a lot of riders I can't yell at. And I think I might be the only brother jockey combination to take his brother off a horse in the paddock. So he likes to kid around sometimes, and it's business. So, but he does. We throw things back at each other when he's riding the horse and I'm training the horse, and he's got a lot more experience riding horses than I do. I've galloped horses for 40 years, but I've only ridden a few times, and actually we rode together at the bush tracks a couple of times, but you just can't beat experience. He's so knowledgeable on what horses need or could have to help them. A lot of the riders nowadays, they're not brought up the way that Vernon was brought up and I was brought up in riding, where you can get on a horse, walk 100 feet, and basically know if they're off in their foot, their stifle, their knee, their ankle, their hips, their back. Because a lot of them now, I hate to say it, don't really pay attention enough or just haven't been taught. And Vernon was taught by some of the best people out there, and he's been all over the country riding all kinds of horses from Marshfield Fair to Saratoga. So it's a wide diversity of horses that he's been on, and to have that knowledge is very helpful in my barn.
Now, when you did race at Bush Tracks and you raced at Vernon, how many times did you beat him?
There's only one answer to that: every.
I rode twice with him, and the first time that I rode with him, he kept bumping me off the inside rail, which was a steel pipe, and every weld it came out, and he literally tore the boot off of my foot. But when we hit that first turn, his horse went straight, and he had to jump when he hit the outside rail. And when I came back around, because it was a 3/8 mile track, I'm asking if he's okay, and I'm in front still, and he's just yelling at me, "Just ride," and came back around. I finished second by that much to somebody that I gave 30 pounds to in a weight. But the second time, come on, I couldn't outride him if he had his arms missing. There's just no way I could do it.
So at what point did you know you were going to become a trainer, and what got you into being a trainer?
I wrestled for a long time, and I went up to New England while Vernon was leading rider up there, and I was in a couple of tournaments, and I went to the racetrack and started galloping horses. I grew up knowing what to do, just didn't do it. And having him help me start off, and then I went to Ocala. But I was always big. I wrestled 119 pounds, 121. I did try to get down to riding weights at Calder, and my body just couldn't take being 112 pounds. So I'm a little bit bigger boned. I'm a little taller than Vernon. But when I stopped trying to ride, I just galloped horses, and then I went into working on the starting gate, and then I was a valet. I worked on track maintenance. Just did a whole myriad of things just to get a total experience of the whole racetrack. And then I went into being an assistant trainer for a couple of people, and I worked came back home when my mother got sick and lived with her, and I went to work for a man named Bill Napier, and he had all of his own horses and had a large outfit. Was with him for 3.5 years, and did phenomenally well with him, and then struck out on my own. And for anybody out there that wants to be an assistant trainer, don't work for a man who owns all his horses, because you can't get owners to come with you. It's a tough start to just get one horse that you own to start out. So just a thing, because if you work for like a Mike Maker, Wayne Lucas, or Dallas Keene, or Dallas Stewart, or any of those people, you'll have a rapport with owners. And some of them, you're going to start off on your own. Some of them will throw you a couple of horses to start. So it's a little tough, but I enjoy owning horses and training horses. And my wife was an assistant trainer when I met her. So it was just the next phase, to train horses. And it's been 22 years now.
The couple conversations we had on the phone too, you brought up your wife now. You also have 3 kids, I believe.
Yeah.
And you told me how you separate family and work. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's a lot of people on the racetrack are racetrack. And I have 3 boys. And when I left the racetrack, it's in the back of my mind. But the kids, they were in Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, sports. And Vernon and my father were very close. My mother and I were close. So there was a separation of the two. So that's where I went into wrestling, and Vernon went into riding horses. And I graduated high school and went on to do, sort of Olympic level competition, junior Olympics, and things of that nature. My mom was very supportive. So I wasn't really into the horses until after I went to New England, and it was like I had scholarships to college, did not take advantage of them because of at the time, the Olympic trials and wrestling international competition. I just didn't have the money or funding behind me. So to go to school and college, because we just couldn't afford it. So I went in, we just went to different things, and I just happened to go into galloping horses and started off that way. But we tended a long time ago, my wife and I said, the racetrack probably isn't the best place for the kids to go. So we tried to steer them in another direction. My one son lives in Portland, and he is he does the mountain fires. He's a firefighter up there, doing the brakes and stuff. My middle son, oldest son is Chris, and my middle son is Sam, and he's in the Navy, and he works for Naval Intelligence, and I don't know what he does. We're not asking, but we just know he does it, which we need kids like that. And my youngest son still lives here with us, graduated high school. He works up in town, and has a good time doing that. But I didn't bring him to the racetrack to learn to be on the racetrack. And with things the way they're going now, I'm kind of glad.
Well, you went there, and I know you got a lot of opinions on it. So go ahead and give your opinion on this.
There are so many different rules that they have that their best answer is, I'll get back to you on it, because they'll have one set of rules for owners, trainers. Then they'll have another set of rules for breeders. They'll have another set of rules for jockeys, veterinarians, blacksmiths. And they've got so many rules scattered out all over the place that they haven't got it all together. Listen, I'm all for medication rules to be across the board throughout the country, because if I'm going from Kentucky to Pennsylvania to New York, and we all have the same basic set of rules and medication, that's a win-win for me, for us. But for them, they've rescinded a lot of their things that they were trying to implement at first. It's a step in the right direction, but with the upcoming court battles that they have coming towards them, I think and I hope that they will rescind a lot of stuff. The Jockeys Guild's got to step in and help these jockeys, because I met a young man the other day at Belterra Park. He's 18 years old. He's counting and watching to see if the jockeys are hitting a horse when they're 4 or 5 in front, and then they'll get a fine. It's uncalled for, because only the jockey can tell if the horse is looking at something, getting ready to stop, to shy. So you hit them once or twice. The whips that they've mandated are like no more than a Nerf gun or a Nerf arrow, or a pool noodle, just smaller. They really don't do anything, make a lot of noise, but you're restricted on hitting the horses. And I understand. I don't want to ever see any abuse of animals. And we've seen it. Every job, every profession has their people that do the wrong things and give horses the wrong things, Derby. And so these things are all cumulative of what's happening. So, but when they do things and overstep their bounds and people don't understand what's going on, we give the best care to the horses. If something happens, the vet's there that day. These people have never owned a horse, never pet a horse, never seen a horse, and they're trying to rule what we do. And we want nothing better than for the horse to be healthy and happy. And I'm a trainer who will probably stop on a horse a little sooner than a lot of other people, because I like my horses to have another job in their career. I've got a 13-year-old horse that retired at 12, and he is now becoming part of the Xavier University equine program. And because he ran 9 years, 10 years, and there's no reason for him not to do something other than just be turned out in the field.
Mm-hmm. So what I said from the very beginning when they were talking about all this, that I couldn't understand for the life of me why California, Florida, Kentucky, New York, all the big states of horse racing couldn't just get together and agree on a set of rules and then say,
Right.
if you ever want your horses to run in our tracks where the bigger money pools are, right? Everybody's dream is to run in the Kentucky Derby or the Breeders' Cup.
Absolutely.
So either you follow our rules or your horses can't come here.
Right.
And it just seemed to me that was the easier way to get things done without, like you said, this layer of bureaucracy of people who have no idea. So
Right.
why do you think like Kentucky and Georgia, I mean, not Georgia, Kentucky and in Florida and California and New York, why do you feel like they just couldn't get together, hash it out over a couple of cigars, a couple of beers, maybe a game of poker, and to the winner goes the the tiebreaker?
I think if you look at it, like when River Downs was sold to become Belterra Park, River Downs had one attorney do the process to do the sale, and when they went to Las Vegas, they had 14 attorneys. There's your problem. You couldn't get two guys in a room to say, yep, this is good, we're done, and I agree on it. You're going to have multiple people have to look at it multiple different ways because you're dealing with really casinos. And it's not so much horsemen anymore running horsemen. It's executives. It's got to meet a quota. And a lot of, I hate to say it, a lot of the casinos really don't want the horsemen or the racing there. They just want the gambling license. And we've got to work together. And it's a shame because you'll see a lot of the racinos that don't really advertise the racing, but boy, they'll advertise that slot machine where you can pull that arm. But it's used to be they came to see the races. Now they want them to come to the casino and just they have racing there. And it's like it's like a inconvenience for them, but they have to have us, a necessity, and it's a shame. And online wagering really has hurt the horse industry because people can sit at home and watch a baseball game. They can watch the horse racing, but you also, at that same thing, you have to sign up for your TwinSpires account, your whatever, to watch the races. So they're taking a piece of the pie as well. And instead of people just actually getting out and going and having fun. And, during the COVID outbreak, horse racing was basically all there was for a lot of people to even watch. There was nobody at the racetracks, but we kept running and we were there for everybody. And that happened like the Depression or the war. Horse racing was still there. And once everything was over, people came back in droves. You don't see that. After COVID, you didn't see the big people coming back in droves. And I think it's a lot to do with advertising. And it's a shame because we could work so well together and get a lot of things done if they would work together. You know what I mean? It's hard because they don't have horsemen or they don't listen to the horsemen because they think that they're doing the best. And, we are the stewards of what's going on. We know what's going on. And these young people, like I said, this 18-year-old boy is watching the jockeys. He's never rode a horse, probably never pet a horse, but going to tell somebody you can't do that. But, it's not that we're hurting the horses. We're trying to help them. And now they're getting rid of pin firing, which is when a horse bucks shins. And did you guys run in high school at all? Anybody an athlete?
I actually wrestled in high school and college too. I was going to ask you because one of my college teammates, he was in the Olympic trials too. And I don't know how old you are.
58.
You're 58, so he's a little bit. So you're a little older than I am. But when I went to a school in East Stroudsburg University, one of the younger kids on our team is a couple of years younger than I am too. So his name was Jack Kuvo. He was a smaller guy too, and I think he lost the very end to go to the Olympics, but a lot of the kids in my college team, one kid actually wrestled for Puerto Rico in the Olympics. So it was a pretty good program. But I didn't get along with my coach though.
Yeah.
Dominic, I can't say his last name because I don't want to meet him out of the street because he was one badass dude, but he ended up going, I don't want to go into the story. You can Google it.
Well, let me tell you what, it's a shame, but it's come in handy on a few racetracks. Chicago. Sure. Arlington Park, I had an altercation with somebody who was twice my size, but it came in handy because 30 seconds later it was over. So
not even 30 seconds at times.
no, it's bad. Well, 30 seconds for the security to pull me off of it. So, but it comes in handy. And if you know wrestling, I went to Dan Gable's clinic, yeah, and boy, was that guy something, huh?
From Iowa, yes, indeed.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
He's
That's actually how I got into an argument with my college coach. We used to say we used to work harder than Iowa. Well, the only team that worked harder than us was Iowa.
Oh yeah.
And then, but he was, he was in school. He was like 35 years old, hadn't earned his bachelor's degree yet, and had been in school since he was 18. So it's a 4-year degree. He's been there for 17 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we
It's
would
like a politician, a professional student.
Yeah, he's not a really smart guy, I guess. But so we would run in the beginning of practice like 5 miles on the indoor track. And I was always in the middle of the thing because I'm not a slow twitch guy. I'm a fast twitch guy. But when we were running the suicides, I would always be ahead of everybody. And then, so one day in practice, he had mentioned that the only reason I'm beating everybody is because I take it too easy in practice, which is not true. Because I never did. I always enjoyed it. I had a good time. Right. So I knew that that's what he said. So I told him, no, Dominic, it's because your practice is for kitty cats. But I didn't use the word kitty cat.
Yeah, I understand.
And he got very angry with me. Now, this is a guy who was an alternate to go to the Olympics for Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah.
So, no feet, just all body throws and stuff.
I had never lost a Greco match.
So you know what I'm talking about then?
Yeah, absolutely. Upper body. That's it. No leg.
So he's 185 pounds. And I tell everybody I ever talked about it, I had a hard time connecting my fingers behind his back. He was so broad.
Right.
And he was as hard as a telephone pole. That's how strong he was. So this dude, I would have to wrestle him every day in practice afterwards. He's tearing in my eyes, in my ears, sticking his knee down on like my Achilles tendon to flatten me out. All those little dirty tricks.
Sure.
And man, I did not like that guy. Anyway,
but you know what? When I wrestled, it helped me to transition over to galloping racehorses because I had my balance. I was strong. I knew how, to set myself. And it worked phenomenal. And, a lot of the jockeys were wrestlers, a whole lot of the jockeys. Well, so you look at that, they wrestled maybe 98 pounds or 105. And when they come into racing, they're already pretty strong and they have a sense of balance. And, you can feel things without having to see it. You know what's going on with your right foot. And so you get that feel in a horse. When you'll feel one leg hit, you can feel it through your body and know exactly what it is. So it's a benefit for up and coming riders if they were wrestlers. I think so. But that's just
the core strength is high to be.
Absolutely.
You think, and I know you can verify this, but you watch somebody. I've played football, I played baseball, I played basketball. Hockey was difficult. I got to say, it was one of the more difficult things I've ever done. But nothing I ever did do you come off the mat more tired than after a 6, 7 minutes, 9-minute wrestling match.
Absolutely.
You're done.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Shawn, are you wrestled? No?
I did not wrestle. I played baseball. I played soccer when I was real young. And then after that, it was playground basketball. I didn't get into the school sports just because of the politics of it. And also, I could run up and down a basketball court all day long if you're playing a game because I'm competitive. But if you tell me to run for the heck of it, I can't do it.
No, that was punishment when we wrestled. That was punishment. Running. It was punishment. Yeah,
indeed.
It was a lot of fun, though.
Yes, I say that if I'm not chasing something or being chased by something, there ain't no point in running.
Exactly. Especially when you can stand your ground.
Yes, indeed, for sure. You mentioned that it does come in handy. So I would advise everybody to take a wrestling course if you can, because if you ever need it, it comes. So, quick story. Basketball. Through my in-law side of the family, one of the guys was a little bit bigger than me. We play basketball. The little center where they throw the toss up in.
Yeah.
So he wanted to do like a little sumo stuff with me, right? So he said, "I bet you I can get you out of this circle in 30 seconds." And I told him, "Christian, you have no chance in hell to get me out of the 30." I said, "I'll get you out of that circle in under 10." He's no way. So I just gave him a little push off balance. And when he reset, I just took his momentum with his T-shirt, put him on the ground and on his back, and like twisted the T-shirt on his neck and dragged him out. It took me like 4 seconds. The dude was as pale as a ghost.
Yeah. I understand that. You get people that'll try you once they know you've been wrestling. You parry an arm, you drag it, and step them aside, and
It
they're like, "How
certainly
do you
is.
do that? It's not hard. Just
No, it's
use
not hard at all.
use yourself against you." Right, right, right.
Well,
It's a
that's
lot
the
of
whole
fun.
art of judo, right?
Yeah,
That's when
yeah,
they
exactly. Well,
judo.
actually, my junior Olympic coach is the Sambo coach, national Sambo coach, and that's a lot of fun. If you've ever get a chance to do any Sambo, go and do it. It is really really interesting.
Is that the Brazilian dancing?
No, it's a Russian art of dislocation.
Russian art of dislocation. There you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, it's close contact combat. It's really really a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, I'll
But
have to
but
go
then,
do that.
but in the tournaments you have the top. It's like a gi type of deal, but you do a lot of throws and then submission holds. Yeah.
Sounds
So
fun.
yeah, yeah,
So, back to well, I was
yeah.
going to talk to
We
you
need
about
to get
wrestling
back to
because you
horse
brought that up anyway. But anything else, Shawn?
Well, George, what do you think your strength is in training? What do you think your biggest strength is that other people don't have?
Being able to get on horses, being able to talk to jockeys because I'm out there with the jockeys in the morning, and very limited instructions with the jockeys because they know when I tell them, I know what I'm talking about. So those are some strengths. I tend to do better with horses that run a mile or more, and because I enjoy galloping them, I get them to gallop out. And I think my biggest strength is being able to get on the horses and being lucky enough to be, a groom for years, a hot walker for years, galloping horses, working on the starting gate for 9 or 10 years, having all of that experience in the jocks room and everything. It's just the strength of what I've done is experience. That's basically like Vernon, experience. You can't. There's nothing that you can beat experience with. There really isn't. And having the knowledge and the respect of your peers, and especially the jockeys, they know it. We'll go out and work horses together, and they'll ride a horse that I'm working, and they know when I say he only likes to get hit left-handed, or you don't touch his mouth until it's time to run. So drop their head and then set the bit, and off they go. They know they can take that to the bank, and no, I'm not, giving them a bunch of crap. And Rosemary Holmeister, now that she's retired, I love her. And I had a horse that would run like a box of rocks. She was just short strided. She never got lengthened out, but she would get faster. And she rode a horse for me, and she came back. She goes, George, thank God you told me, because I would have not rode this horse out if you didn't say that this is how this horse goes. And she knew that I knew what I was talking about. So I think that's a strength of mine, that I can talk to these jockeys and they all know, that I'm not somebody who just passed a test and can't put on a spider bandage or get into the stall and know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? They know I've ridden enough to be able to tell them. So, and that's a lot of trainers that have never ridden horses, and I think that's just a disadvantage to them. And honestly, God, from working on the starting gate for as long as I did, I always said that part of a trainer's test should have them, just like a jockey, go to the starting gate and sit there for a week to understand it's not always the jockey or the gate crew. If your horse breaks bad, it's more than likely your horse. And a lot of trainers, I hear them complain a lot, and I just take it the way it is. I mean, that's horse racing, and that's the lucks and the breaks that you have. And like the horse that Vernon's riding tomorrow broke flat-footed because he stepped backwards at the break last time. So we're looking to not do that this time, but it happens. If you're sitting there for an extended period of time in the starting gate, they all can't stand perfect. It's going to happen. So yeah, I think that's my strength, is just experience and having the jockeys respect that I can tell them what's right. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to bull crap them.
Yeah, and actually, we've had jockeys tell us if they get the wrong person in the gate, they already know they've lost a race.
It's a detriment. Yeah, yeah. But from experience in the jocks in being in the gate, a lot of the experience that I had was more jockey, because a lot of them get very tense in there, and it feeds to the horse. So the jockeys that Vernon, he usually doesn't want anybody in the gate with him. He would rather be by himself. You've got 2 sets of reins, and try to tell them, hey man, pick up, give me a hand, help me out. Some of them just won't do it until the doors open, and they're not helping you, but they'll blame you. So it's a lot of the jockeys get a little too tense, and the horses can tell. And if they just sit there and relax and come out with a finger full of mane, they'll be much better for it.
Now, HISA aside, how many more years do you think you'll be training horses?
I don't know. And I wish I could say, 2, 3, 6, 10, 12 years. I don't know. I've been lucky enough the last few years to meet some wonderful people in Florida. And I actually go and ride and drive gypsy vanners and horse shows, and it's a lot of fun. And I've hooked up with a trainer down in Brooksville, Florida. Her name's Tasha Byerly, and she has a stallion station, but she also breeds and trains miniature gypsy vanners and larger vanners. And we, it's a whole nother genre and another thing to learn. So I can learn from them, and they've learned from me, and it's a really good thing for. I think it's an advantage to learn other attributes that horses can do, and to be just closed-minded that this is only the thing that train racehorses and that's it. I think that's absurd that you can't go and do other things. And I have owners that are understandable, and they are like, enjoy yourself. I'll see you in a couple of days, because I'll go off and work 1 or 2 days at a show, and when I can. If I'm racing horses, I can't do it.
So gypsy vanner, if you're dumb like me, you don't know what that is. What is it?
A gypsy vanner is it's got a lot of hair and feather. They're a horse came over from England and Ireland, and the vanner is what the gypsies over there, the gypsies, right? They would pull their house was the van. So they bred these beautiful horses that are mild-mannered and docile and will just do whatever you want for the most part. They're a horse, but they're so nice and beautiful horses. And my friends have actually brought imported miniature cobs, is what they are, gypsy cobs, and they're very docile. They're 13 hands, 10 down to 10 hands, and they pull carts, they pull carriages, they can do drags, and you can ride them. People can ride them. So you'll have to Google it.
I'm gonna have to Google it. Thank God for Google. I mean, I like the service. I could do it out the company.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So my last question for me is, since we started off this way,
this question is for you, or is it for George?
What?
I got it.
You said your last question for me.
So, what concert are you going to next, or what's on your bucket list?
Oh man, unfortunately, I can't fill my bucket list. I had tickets one year. I won tickets to go and see Pink Floyd in Boston, Massachusetts. And the night of the concert, my son was sick, so I had to give my tickets away. And wouldn't you know it, people were like, that was the best concert ever. It started raining, and the lasers would split up in the water droplets. And I was like, yeah, I wish I could go see them. Maybe I'll see one of those guys in concert sometime, but I don't know. I'm very eclectic. I'm not going to see Rod Stewart or Barry Manilow. I hate to say that, but I don't know. I like a lot of different things, and I happen to have my owners are in Nashville, and they have some country artists, and I'm hoping one day to get some some free tickets. Hey guys, go see some of those shows.
Well, I went to see Pink Floyd a couple times, but at a Pink Floyd show, it may not have been raining.
Yeah.
They may have imagined it.
Yeah, they might have. But I heard it was a fantastic show. I wish I could go on. It was back when they had the Wall.
Mm-hmm. Well, way back then in the 80s. Yes, indeed.
Yes, it was in the 80s. Yeah.
I went to go see them after Roger Waters had split off, and it was just David Gilmour down in Philadelphia. Quite a funny story about how I ended up going to that. ended up to a girlfriend and I breaking up because it was my friend knocked on the door. He's like, I was expecting someone to come visit me, and then a knock on the door. So I was expecting her to be there, but instead it was my friend Joe. And he says, hey, so-and-so can't go to the Pink Floyd concert. It must have been you, George. But he said, you want to go? So I left a note on my door. So I'll be back around midnight, right?
Sure.
Maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I'll be back. Don't worry about it. Well, apparently they didn't like that. So I went to a Pink Floyd show and ended up getting
my first concert I went to, Rick Springfield.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it was fun, you know, but then I went to Joe Walsh and other people, and I've just been to so many different types of concerts, but Joe Walsh was one of the best concerts. It was just him, and it was in Rhode Island. It was a place called Circus on the Round, and it was like 300 seats, and the stage was a circle in the middle. And the seats were all the way around. It's like a circus tent, and it would rotate. So everybody in the arena, everybody got to see Joe Walsh playing, and he is phenomenal.
Question for you. I saw Joe Walsh play with Bob Seger.
Yeah.
Could you understand the word Joe Walsh says?
Not when he was speaking. No.
No, you can't.
No, it's like Ozzy Osbourne.
I was going to say, is that the Ozzy effect there?
Absolutely.
But maybe even worse when Joe Walsh speaks, right? I don't know, because he honks a little and you can't understand what he's saying.
Yeah. I did get to see George Thorogood and the Destroyers in a bowling alley.
Oh, nice.
In Wilmington, Delaware. I think that's where they're from. And he just came in and started playing, you know. Tracy Chapman saw her in a bar in Boston. She was in the corner. And do you remember her?
Yep.
That fast car. So yeah, she was. That was a lot of fun. So I mean, yeah, I love that stuff. You know,
I love live music too. I've been to
absolutely.
probably over 100 concerts in my lifetime. Yeah. So a lot of them were a lot of fun. Bon Jovi, before he was Bon Jovi, Bon Giovanni was his name. Didn't have Ricky Sambora. Didn't have any of those people. The Allentown Fairgrounds opening up for Scorpions.
Wow.
Standing literally, and I always think about this in life sometimes, how like two people can be standing in the same spot in life, essentially. Yeah. And you know, and then 20 years down the road, one guy owns a piece of the Bills, one of the biggest rock stars in the world, and we're struggling to get YouTube viewers.
Yeah. Hey, you
somebody
guys
took a better path than I did.
I love watching you guys. You know,
thank you.
You have questions that are, you know, need to be asked sometimes, and some questions you just kind of like sit there and go, what? So, but I love it. It's really good. Vernon just sent me a message saying, great job, Seymour. So my middle name is Seymour. Thanks, Mom and Dad. So, and Vernon always teases me about it.
I don't share my middle name with nobody for the same reason, but it's not Seymour.
So he's watching our interview and not watching the concert anyway?
Well, yeah. Cheap tricks on, Vernon. You need to watch the concert.
Yes, indeed.
Maybe he's not loving them like they want him to love him.
Or maybe Rod Stewart's on right now.
Yeah, or intermission. Yeah,
it could be too.
But yeah, what do you think about the Heisa? And you know, we should ask you a couple questions. I mean, have you read the rules? Have you listened to any of the meetings, the town meetings? Because they're on YouTube, and I think as many people that can watch the meetings and listen to them say, "We'll get back to you on that," should all understand exactly what's going on, because we ask questions that are pertinent to our livelihood, and they can't answer the question. And there was one that stood out at Kentucky meeting. A person asked, when does a horse have to be registered with Heisa? And they said, well, their first timed work. And the guy asked, he says, well, in your rules, it says when they're nominated to a stake race, they have to be registered with Heisa. And she said, absolutely. Well, this man breeds horses. When the foals hit the ground, they're nominated to the Breeders' Cup, which is a stakes race. Once they're registered with Heisa, there's no more pin firing, blistering, corrective surgeries, none of this other stuff. So you've got a 1 week old foal that's been registered with Heisa. Now they're ruling everything that horse has to go through, and in order for us to help it to be better, we're not going to be allowed to. So the Breeders' Cup, I think, is going to see a lot of horses that are not going to be nominated when they're foaled. Because, if that's the case, they're going to wait till their very first timed workout, which would be a sale or its first time on the racetrack to get a work when they're 3 or 2. So I think that they haven't thought out a lot of their rules because maybe the right hand hasn't talked to the left hand yet. So, you got breeders, you got to nominate them here, owners, you got to nominate them there. They're not thinking that the breeders are the owners. Mm-hmm. So there's just so many things to go through, and it wasn't really handed out to us in a proper manner because it was like last 11th hour, you got to sign up or you can't run. Well, this has been passed along 2 years ago. Where's the information? Why haven't they given us the information? Why haven't they passed this along? Why haven't they asked us questions about what would make it better? Instead, they just come up with these wild, things. And there's a lot more I could go into, but I'd rather do it with a lot of other people in the building, that could back it up or have the information in front of me to read it to you. But I mean, those are just little things that, that I think they're going to end up learning that they can't dominate every aspect of horse racing, or there won't be horse racing. And a lot of the casinos that are riding piggybacking off of the horseman's license to gamble are going to lose their casinos if it gets to that point. I'd much rather see the horsemen stick together and God bless Texas, those guys, and Louisiana for filing lawsuits, because it needs to be handed up to a higher court, and it really needs to get out there because this is the death of an industry, and it's not just going to affect the thoroughbred people. It's going to affect the grain mills, the hay and straw people who provide the hay, the farmers. There might be more hay for cows, but they're next. I mean, actually, they're on the chopping block as it is. It's a shame, and you saw it first with the circus elephants, then you've seen it with the seals and the whales, and then they went to the greyhounds. They're gone. They tried to get the dog shows. They couldn't win there. So now they're going after the thoroughbreds, but the quarter horses are excluded. The trotter horses are excluded. And far be it from me to say, look out, because if they can do the thoroughbreds, you're next, and it's coming. Don't think it's not going to happen. Then you've got the walker horses. You've got all the Arabians, the Olympic trial horses that are thoroughbreds or not thoroughbreds. And if the thoroughbred race horses go into those types of competition, they're still going to be regulated by HISA. The only problem I've got is that this is just in the United States. They cannot go over the border because the FTC can't extend over the lines of the United States. So who knows? We might migrate to Canada and have a lot of racing, but Canada restricts a lot of Americans racing in Canada. So, there's just so many different variances of what's going on that I don't think they've really thought it out correctly. And I think they're going too big, too fast. Just do the medication rules and let's work on the other stuff later, slowly. But
I've never been one that, being around as long as I've been around, I can't think of one thing that the government does better than the private sector.
Yeah,
absolutely. Except spend other people's money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So aside from that, that's why I often felt like, why ask another man to do what you could do for yourself?
Yeah.
So that's why I always wondered why the horse racing industry just didn't get together and battle it out one way or the other, come up with some common rules that they can all agree on. Like you said, get the medication straight, get what you're going to do with the jockeys in terms of the hitting straight. And then that's probably going to solve, just the medication's probably going to solve most of the problems, because that's where the cheating happens. And that's the stuff that makes everybody mad. And that's what makes the horses break down, because they're not sound, because they're over medicated. You fix that, and then you probably fix a lot of the perception.
Also, it's just like, let's say, I want to compare this to like gun laws. There's laws out there, just enforce them. And this is a problem with some of the trainers out there that have had bad tests, hundreds of tests throughout a year. And you will have a racetrack say, all right, you can't run here, but they won't issue a ruling. So, it's kind of brought upon themselves, because you have multiple trainers that will have multiple bad tests throughout the country, and nobody wants to suspend them. Well, you see with Bob Baffert, he was suspended, and oh my God, I'm sure he's not hurt for money, but and God bless him. He does. He's a salesman. He does great. And his horses do well. But take your days like Joe Schmo, who doesn't have something to fall back on, or 100,000 in the bank to relax for a month on. They've got to go out and schlep it on a farm and do hay or whatever to get a job just to get by. We have the same rules, but as a smaller trainers, we get pounded so much easier because we don't have the money behind us to fight it in court. Even if I'm in the right and I have something, you pretty much got to take it on the chin because we can't go and fight it. You say something with the commission, it costs you $500. Kids, a family mortgage, you get $500 is $500. I'll take the 2-week suspension. So and then you got, I hate to use Baffert like he is, but he cries that somebody setting him up, or that you followed the rules, and it's a shame you did the rules. And I think in that instance with the Derby, he gave the medication within the parameters that the state guidelines give, and he did it right. I think he should have just owned up to it immediately and said, yeah, we gave it to you. We gave it to the horse. Here's when we gave it. Your parameters, your timeline. Apparently your timeline is wrong because it's not exiting the system fast enough. That needs to be fixed. Instead, people are trying to get him. And he drug it out for so long that, he ended up getting what he got. 90 days, still whined about it.
Well, it seems to me that there's more behind the scenes with that because
there's a lot more.
When you read like the vitriol or the vitriolic remarks from one side to the other, it was clearly just from the words that were being used. It was being business. It somehow became personal. I don't know how it became personal because I'm not privy to that, but it's clear to me that they were pissed off at him for a lot more than just Medina Spirit having a little bit more than in him than he should have had.
Well, absolutely. You can look it up. Everybody can look it up how many tests he had that were positive up until that point. There has to be a cutoff line of when you give somebody a suspension. There was Fletcher. He just had a suspension or a fine.
$1,000 fine, yes,
absolutely,
for a anti-inflammatory cortisone, which is exactly what Medina Spirit was
nothing.
on.
That did nothing to the horse. So, but you also have another. I'm not sure if it was up in Minnesota or somewhere that a horse came up with a positive for a narcotic, and the owner or the trainer, he says, "Yep, one of my employees has." And he must have urinated in the stall and the horse ate whatever and come up with a bad test. He's taken his suspension. And it might be his very first one he's ever had, but he's taken it. He's going to go with it and go on. And I know multiple trainers that have had 30-day suspensions for certain things in a tube warmer, a paste warmer, and there was a medication in there that wasn't allowed that you buy over the shelf. And, one state it's not allowed, another state it is. And that's the things that happen. And it's a lot of things we can't really follow. But if you give it, and he said he gave the wormer. He ran the horse in a state that came up with a positive test. He took his 30 days. I mean, that's just the way it is. And it's a shame that you have those trainers that are up in a higher echelon who want to go to court and keep running for however long, and then they suspend them later on, and then they could have already had it over with and done, and been on the good side of all the stewards and the commissions and saying, "Yep, I'll take it. I'm good. It's my responsibility." And that's the thing, trainer responsibility. And if I have a groom or somebody does something wrong, I'm the trainer. That's my responsibility to oversee that. And it happens, and it does happen. It's happened for hundreds of years, and it's going to happen hopefully for 100 other years.
You mean we didn't have to talk about Bob Baffert for a year on here?
Oh God!
No. I want to talk to Bob Baffert here. I would like for him to come on, but I don't know.
I wish he would come on because and be open and honest. But he'd have his lawyer sitting where you guys couldn't see him. Saying you can't answer that. But
I would ask him. But Vernon, sorry, George.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I would ask him 3 times.
Yeah.
Like I did with the horse name. I wouldn't give up until I get the answer I want. You know what I'm saying? Or not the answer I want, but an answer.
An answer, right.
Mhm.
Well, there's a lot of people out there who will ask 50 people the same question just to get the answer he wants.
Mhm.
And that's a lot of the trainers nowadays that can pass a test, but you throw them a piece of material and say, make me a spider bandage. And they'll look at you like you have three heads. Or throw them a figure eight and say, here, put it together after you take it apart. They don't know. They hire very good help. That's what they do. And it's good. I mean, if they win and they're successful, God bless them. But it would be really nice if they knew what was going on with their horses and not just be able to ask their assistant trainer or their groom, because you look at it and the assistant trainer is the one training the horses. And just he didn't want to have the responsibility of being a trainer.
Bob always does have good answers because the dog. I always love the dog ate my homework answers. Like, yeah, the guy peed in the hay, or he had stuff on his fingers. What tracks do you train on? So I saw you were Turfway Park, Belterra. I saw some horses at Keeneland.
Yep.
What else did I see?
Well, I was at Tampa for several years, and then I don't go down there anymore. I was at Gulfstream for a couple of years. I stay up here now, but I go to Indiana Downs or Indiana Grand or whatever it's called now.
Horseshoe Indianapolis.
Hollywood. Horseshoe Indiana. Yeah, it's a name game. And I go to Mountaineer Park once in a while. I'll go up there. I'll go to Presque Isle, run up there. If the horse fits the course and can win, I'll go.
Good piece of advice.
Yes.
For life too.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't get on a horse you can't ride.
That's right. That's a good good
That's why Rich don't get on one.
All right.
We can get you on a horse.
I was on a horse one time, dude. I ain't going on a horse again.
Did you see Mike Manganello you know who Mike Manganello is, right?
The name doesn't ring a bell.
He won the Derby on what's it? Dust Commander, I think he won the Derby, and he was after this year's Derby, he went down and got on the horse and rode the Derby winner this year. With Sonny Leone was down there and Eric Reed was down there, and they put him up on the horse and rode him around. It's like, hey man, 2 Derby winners on a horse. It was really cool. Mike Manganello is a really, really good steward, good person. Yeah.
I rode a horse in Cincinnati that didn't do anything that I told it to do.
Oh.
And I'm pretty confident the guy who ran the horse farm there, he identifies the one person he thinks is the smartass in the crew.
Yeah.
He identified me properly.
Absolutely.
Put me up on the horse, and then this old horse didn't do anything I wanted it to do. I squeezed it with my feet. I, pulled the rein one way, pulled it both ways, did everything I was supposed to do. The horse just said, screw you, old man. I'm going out there because that's where I want to be.
Don't feel bad. The very first horse I ever got on in my life on the racetrack was Big Mac at Rockingham Park. I jogged him all the way around in front of the grandstand, turned him around at the wire, and there I stood. And there I stayed until the outrider came and got me. And he goes, you're on Big Mac, ain't you? I'm like, yeah. He goes, he does this to every new rider. I'm like, really? Really? So it was an education, and hey, take it. It's you look back on that, it's a lot of fun. It's like, that was interesting. You never forget stuff like that.
No, I won't forget the horse wanting to jump over the fence to swim into the water to chase the girl horse up the hill. That's what he had on his mind, and I was like, I'm not having it. I was actually thinking, if this horse takes off for the fence, because there was a female horse up there training, and the like one of the farmhands told me he's got his eye on her. So and so he came out the first time he was watching. They got him to go back inside the barn where we were kind of going in circles and going up and down on different things, getting him to stop, pause, and all that. The second time he came out, he had a little bit more purpose than he did the first time.
Right.
And he started running towards the fence a little bit, not like full speed, but probably like 30%, which for me felt like full speed. I thought he was going to go over, and I was thinking to myself, now how do I bail on one of these things? Because I'm going to jump off.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
40. I've been galloping over 40 years. I've bailed twice. Twice. Yeah. And that was because Suffolk Downs, the horse was running off the racetrack the wrong way. And at the time, there was a trailer that's parked. It's right there at the end of the quarter pole chute. And it was in the middle of the winter time. So when you had to take a right or a left, that horse wasn't going anywhere but down because of the ice. And I bailed. And it was like, it was softer on the racetrack than it was on the concrete.
Mm.
And I got lucky and didn't get hurt. And another time I bailed in Tampa Bay, Florida, a horse took a right at the 3/8 pole and ran over the rail. And I just jumped because I didn't want to go over the fence and down the hill and cross into the woods.
Mm.
So those are the only two I've ever done. And
Yeah, I didn't want to go into the water and up the hill with the horse either. It was
no,
fun for
it's
me.
not fun. It's hard when they want to do something, they're going to do it, and you just ride them. You just got to ride them and get it out of their system, and then they come back and they're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Do you have a racing manager, or do you do it yourself?
I do it myself. I do it myself with my owners. You know, I like to have my owners involved. I love to have my owners come to the racetrack. I love to have them come see their horses. I've been involved with too many outfits that have 40, 50 horses, and the owners come with a little book. And, you know, Mimi is in stall 22, and, you know, they switch the pony to stall 22, and they don't know the difference. I like my owners to come in any day. Don't call me, just show up, because I want them to see what's going on. And I have a very good rapport with all of my owners. And if I say, hey, a horse needs to have some time off, okay. So I received a horse the other day from Chicago, and his structurally was out of whack. And I'm like, hey, give him 30 days, fun in the sun, out green grass, up and down hills, let him get himself right physically, mentally, and bring him back to the racetrack. And my owner didn't even hesitate. And he says, if you think that's what's best for him, let's do it. And I'm lucky to have that, because I've had a lot of other people that owners that will ask questions beforehand, and will you do this, this, this? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, you need to find somebody else. I just won't do those things. I'm too old school to do a lot of the things that they ask. And it's a shame. Some of these owners really ask some outrageous things. And I'm just, I've got my 8 horses right now, and I'm a happy man and enjoy those horses. And I love to get the horses that need some TLC, and you can watch them grow like kids and flourish and do so much better than when you get them. And that's just a great thing to see.
One final question, and then we'll let you go, because it's supposed to be 20 to 40 to 30 minutes for 1 hour.
I know.
You have a bloodstock agent?
No, I do not. I do know several people down in Ocala that I deal with. Can I mention their names? Is it okay?
Sure. Go fire away. We don't have any sponsors that we're going to anger, because we don't have any sponsors.
Because I used to work a lot of horses for the sales, and you got Barry Berkelheimer, who breaks a lot of horses and does a fantastic job. Niall Brennan, Nick Demerick, those guys are all old school people, and when they tell you something, that's it. They're not out there just to make the sale. They want to find a horse for the right person, and then go to the right place. And you get these a lot of people who will buy a horse for $200,000, and then if you got aspirations for the Derby, like everybody does, and then you've got the guy who pays $1,200 who has the same aspirations, but yet those guys that are pinhookers or sales agents will tell them one thing and not be the truth. But at all those sales, you have the repository. You can go see where the horses were scoped, their x-rays, and you need to do your due diligence and do that. Now, I do know people that I could call up and say, hey, look for me for this, for my owner, and they will do it. But I don't have anybody specific that I do that with, because I don't do a lot of the buying and things of that. Several of my owners are breeders. A lot of the owners claim horses, and we try to do, go on the improve with them. And, they deal with that at the racetrack. And it's when you're a breeder, you're not in it to sell the horses. You're in it to run the horses, because you get all the enjoyment of watching them be a foal, be the weanling, the yearling, watching them get broke and then come to the track and excelling, and that's actually not the cheapest way to go about it. I mean, it costs a lot of money to get a horse to the racetrack, but it's the love of the game. And those are the people that I surround myself with. And I've been blessed for over the last 20 something years and have people like that. I've got a great group out of Louisville, Kentucky, called New Adventure Stables, which I have on my shirt. But and they are phenomenal. We've got a trainer, Kevin Dove, up in Maryland that trains a horse. Also, I'm part of their group, and it's a good thing to be part of a large group. It's cheaper for a lot of people to own one horse or 2 horses. and everybody gets the enjoyment of watching those horses run. And that group is like winning the Derby every time they come and watch a horse run and win. It's just fantastic, you know.
A lot of fun. Well, one of these days we're going to put together a group too to buy a horse. We have some
That'll be good. It is really the best way to go about buying a racehorse is to be part of a group and finding the right trainer that's going to be honest with you and can talk to you in a normal way so you understand it. Like my owners, the Borchettas, they like the fact that I can explain a lot of things to them just as a layman and not have to, they call up, hey, what's going on with my horse? If you don't like it, come and get him. That's not the way it is. Mm-hmm. And I'm always the first one. If a horse has a snotty nose, I take a picture of it and send it to him. I'm like, hey man, your horse is snotting today, or I had a shoe pull off or something. I try to keep in contact with them, not on a daily basis, but pretty much, on a weekly basis, 2 or 3 times, a week. So yeah, I'm just lucky. I feel I'm very lucky. I'm not.
Well, when we have a horse, if we have a disagreement, we'll just take it to the mat and the winner's right.
You would lose. How much do you weigh?
How about that?
How much do you weigh?
Right now or when I wrestle?
No, right now.
Right now I weigh about 200 pounds.
Okay, so I'm 5'5", and I wrestled at 121. I weigh $160, and I can go to any carnival, and they'll guess 130.
Yeah, most people don't think I weigh 200 pounds either.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay.
I don't look any different from 180 to 220. I look the same.
Absolutely. So, we'd have to get Shawn to referee it,
There we go.
There won't be any. It'll be a crystal clear winner.
I know. Listen, how tall are you?
5'9".
5'9". So you are taller than me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm 5'5", but I will look taller when I'm on top of you. So that's okay.
Mm-hmm. when I'm going like this with you.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate your time today, George.
Love it, man.
Have a great night, and I look forward to getting together one time together.
Tomorrow, 7th race, Vernon Bush in the irons, and Raul Copperhead Road. Let's see, we're going to try to win another race. So I've got that one running, and I've got Joyful Heart on Friday. He right now is tied for the winningest horse of the meet at Belterra, and that, if you will look up that race, it could be a stake race just as well as a starter race. These are phenomenal horses in the field, and it's exciting to see a bunch of good horses running because it's going to be a great race, and none of them want to lose. And the trainers of all the trainers there, we all hope everybody else does really well. We want to win. We don't want anybody else to have any problems coming out of the race. But if I don't win, I hope it's one of the guys all these guys, they're all really good people, and that's the best part about being in a small track. People would say is that we try to root for each other, and if I don't win, I hope you win, and the horse comes back good. Next time, I want to beat you.
For sure.
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
All right, man. It's great talking to you guys.
You as well. Thanks for being a fan of the show and for giving us some kind words earlier in the day. We appreciate that.
That's phenomenal. Yeah. I played you guys on my video in my room, and everybody walks by, and it just repeats your videos all the time.
It's on loop, like CNN in the airport. Fantastic.
Well, I go to your channel, and I just push play all. So people will walk by, and they'll stop, and they listen to you, and they're like, who's this? I'm like, you guys got to download this and got to be subscribed.
Absolutely.
Subscribe. Hit the like button and subscribe.
Right there. We appreciate that. And of course, where do we want everything to end up, George?
Well, I mean, if you're a fish, I understand, but
no, the winner's circle.
And the
Come
winner's
on, man.
That's right. I still got wrestling in my head.
A fish, you got wrestling going on, man.
Yeah.
I don't count the lights, my friend. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah, in the winner's circle, absolutely having fun, safe. Everybody come back good.
Indeed. Have a great night. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you, guys. Shawn, talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Take
bye.
care. That was a lot of fun, Shawn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know we're going to end up being a wrestling match one day down there. So, so when we do like the charity thing, okay, so the 3 things I got to do now, I got to get hit with a whip. I got to get buzzed with the buzzer. And now I got to wrestle George. So those are the 3 things that I got to do. And
if we don't do them soon, that list will just continue to grow.
Yes, it will. But you still got to do and you'll dance with flaming chainsaws to decide while we film it all.
That's just,
right.
I'm not going to be able to even get to the dance part. I'll probably light something on fire. So it's just going to be
That's the way it goes. So we were going to talk about some other news stuff. We ran a little long with George. It was a lot of fun, the conversation. So we won't go through the news. The only thing I will tell you is hopefully earlier in the day, yesterday, we talked a little bit about betting on those Tampa Bay Rays with picks with the professor. Today, I don't know if you caught the early show where Terry and I were talking a little bit about horse racing today. Colonial Downs did hit the late pick 4, missed by $2,000 by that much with the 9-horse not winning the last leg. But Major League, I know today he went with the Seattle. What are they? The Mariners, right? Seattle Mariners?
Yep.
Is that right, Shawn?
Yep.
And right now the Mariners are, where are they at? I don't see them. Did they get rained out? Yes, they got postponed. So right now he's still 1-0. So make sure tomorrow you tune in for Terry and I when we do Delaware Park, like we do every Wednesday, to please our good fans in the country of Turkey, because they love their Delaware horse racing on Wednesdays. And then we'll be back tomorrow night with who, Shawn?
Trainer Megan Fadlovich. Rich is going to pronounce that name a lot better tomorrow, since Rich is a lot better at it than I am.
I'll try. We'll see. And then do we have anything lined up for Thursday? I don't even know what track we're doing, Shawn.
No, I don't know what track we're going to do neither, but I will we'll talk after the show, and I'll work on that tomorrow.
All right, fantastic. Terry and I will be back tomorrow. Of course, Thursday is the opening day for Saratoga. We got Blake over there trying to make his debut as well. And Terry and I, we will do Saratoga's opening day on Thursday. You're going to want to check that out. Till then, Shawn, we went wire to wire today. We ran a little overtime. We did like the 2-mile hurdle races today instead of the 6-mile sprint.
Well, you'll see those at Saratoga too. So
indeed, we'll be ready to handicap those. All right, Shawn. Until we get together again tomorrow, we hope that everybody has a fantastic night. Thanks for joining us. We hope that your day and your night, that they end up in
the winner's circle.
Absolutely. Have a great night. We'll see you all tomorrow.